So if you want to get into building spec houses, how do you do it? I know this is a super common topic, especially a lot of people my age. They want to get into real estate investing, construction, and right out of the gate, they want to build spec houses. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend doing that right out of the gate. It's super risky, and I've seen it time and time again, especially with us picking up a lot of construction sites that have been abandoned recently. A lot of these contractors and so-called investors wanted to put these homes up, and then they fell flat on their face. They weren't able to make their loan payments, and ultimately the property ends up selling at a foreclosure auction, or it becomes a short sale, and it just doesn't work out in the way that they expected. They were going to make all this profit and then sail away into the ocean. Honestly, if you wanted to get into building spec houses, what I would do is find something that you enjoy that makes a lot of money. Especially in the real estate industry, you have wholesaling, you have remodels, you have building houses for someone else. Because when you're building a house at spec, you don't necessarily have a buyer in mind, and it can get super risky if the market takes a turn and you're unable to sell it, especially if you can't float the monthly expenses once the home is complete. You have taxes, you have electric, water. If the property is in an HOA, you got to pay HOA fees. If you put a pool in, pool maintenance. It's expensive to maintain a house that's not being lived in. So having all those in place, and get creative with your financing. A lot of these lenders are going to want you to sign a personal guarantee if you go the construction loan route, especially if you're a newer company. But try to avoid taking out a lot of loans, because if the market does turn, it can put you in a sticky situation. Ideally, in a perfect world, you would pay cash for everything, but I know a lot of people don't necessarily have the capacity to fund these builds with cash. But the one thing I would do is build up your capital reserves and fund one as much as you can, doing the self-funding, and then eventually if you wanted to transition into loans, you can do that. Just always be aware of your risk tolerance and never go over your head, because if you do that, you can be out of business completely, just like a lot of people were in 2008.